Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. Today, we're going to be talking about spellcasting, and specifically, we're going to be discussing the Sorcerer, arguably the most powerful of all spellcasters. Their metamagics give them incredible amounts of versatility when it comes to changing and enhancing their magic. But one of their downsides is that they struggle with what spells to choose, because they have such a limited number of spells known. They only get to know a few. So, when 4th level spells come along, midway through Tier 2, they have to make another tough decision. What spell am I going to take for 4th level? I have selected a top 5 list for the Sorcerer that I think any Sorcerer should give some true consideration to as far as what spells are best. Starting at number 5, I say think about greater invisibility. As a sorcerer, you're pretty squishy. Even wizards and warlocks have combat-focused subclasses. Sorcerers don't really have one of those. There is no Blade Singer or Hexblade Sorcerer. They are the arguably squishiest of the classes. That being said, greater invisibility means that for an entire minute of your concentration, you are invisible even if you attack or cast spells. So you can keep firing out your other spells, as long as they don't take concentration, your cantrips, whatever, and all attacks against you have disadvantage, and all of your attacks have advantage. So this is a great way to buff yourself up in combat and let all of your attacking spells hit and make you harder to hit. So there is no real downside to this one. Greater Invisibility is a peak spell. It's usually used for folks who are in melee combat, which sorcerers definitely don't want to be. But all in all, I'd say anyone could benefit from this spell. Now, number 4 on the list is an AoE, Sickening Radiance. That spell came out of Xanathar's Guide to Everything. Sickening Radiance is a 30-foot area spell, and creatures that enter it see this dim green glow and make a con save, which is an easier save to make for other creatures. If they fail the save, then a lot happens to them. If they succeed, nothing happens. So it's a sucker save spell. But if they fail, they take 4d10 radiant damage, and they glow, meaning they cannot benefit from being invisible. And this is the real killer, they suffer 1 level of exhaustion. So, exhaustion is an incredibly debilitating condition. It gives you disadvantage on your abilities. It can cut your speed in half. At higher levels of exhaustion, it can cut your speed down to 0 and give you disadvantage on all your attacks. And eventually, if you get 6 levels of exhaustion, you die. You just straight up die. It doesn't matter what your hit points are. It doesn't matter what else happens to you. You're just dead. So, Sickening Radiance being an exhaustion triggering spell means that if you can maintain concentration and trap enemies in a Sickening Radiance, even if they have great con saves, over the turns, because it lasts for 10 minutes, that's a lot of rounds. 10 minutes is 100 rounds of combat. So they would have to make 100 saving throws. It doesn't matter how good your con is. Eventually you're going to fail them. And eventually you're going to get those levels of exhaustion, and you only have to fail 6 times. And you're dead. So it obviously takes a good amount of battlefield control to do it this way, and it does have that kind of slow burn ability, but the damage is pretty good too, as an AoEs go. So that's why I give Sickening Radiance the spot number 4 on this list. Now, at number 3 on the list, I say Dimension Door. Dimension Door is a very potent teleportation spell. You teleport 500 feet, and you can do so in a number of ways. Either a place you can see, obviously, or a place that you can visualize in your mind. So if you can look at a room using scrying or a telescope maybe, I don't know, you can teleport to it if you're within 500 feet of it. You can even use Dimension Door to describe directions. 200 feet straight in the air. 10 feet in front of me if I need to go through a locked door. Or, 300 feet up and forward at 45 degrees. Now, when you do it this way, obviously you could teleport into thin air, or you could teleport into an object, like a wall. If you do that, then you take damage and the teleport fails. So there is a downside to it. But the visualization is what I think is the best one. As long as you can picture a spot, you can go there. When you're close enough. And 500 feet's a long way. Most castles and most dungeons don't cover that much space. Some of the mega dungeons do, but most don't. So you can teleport anywhere you can imagine. And you can even bring someone with you with Dimension Door. You and an ally can travel while carrying objects up to your carrying capacity. So lots of great ways to get around, and Dimension Door just bypasses things. It bypasses dungeons, it bypasses traps, it bypasses security, it bypasses all sorts. Who cares if you can fly or if you're invisible? If all you have to do is teleport. So yeah, it's a great spell. Number 2 on the Sorcerer list is Banishment. Now, Banishment is one of the supreme battlefield control spells. You cast it on a creature, it makes a charisma save. If they fail the save, they go poof and disappear. Banishment sends them to a harmless demi-plane for a minute where they're incapacitated. As long as you maintain concentration for the minute, they don't come back. And when the minute's up, they come back to where they were. So this is a great way to control someone's presence on the battlefield and remove someone. But it gets better. If you're facing off with a creature that isn't native to the plane you're on, most of the time you're on the material plane, so that would mean if you're facing demons or devils or celestials or aberrations or whatever, then you can use this powerful spell to send them back to their home plane. If you can keep concentration for the full minute, they are permanently banished back to their home plane, and then they have to find their own way back to the material plane. Banishment is a one-hit kill for Devil Lords and Demon Lords. To be clear, it doesn't get around legendary resistance, and it can be resisted with a good charisma save, but charisma is a tricky one to hit for most creatures, and you can go through legendary resistances and eventually just one-shot a powerful boss with Banishment. And that's why it goes for the number 2 spot. Why not the number 1 spot? Well, the number 1 spot on this list goes to potentially the most powerful spell in the game, Polymorph. Sorcerers can in fact learn Polymorph. This gives you the power to transform one of your party members into a beast of a CR rating equal to or less than their level. Considering you get this spell at level 7, that means you can transform into pretty much any beast in the game. Giant apes, killer whales, giant eagles. One level higher at level 8, now you can transform into a T-Rex if you want to. Polymorph gives you all the powers and strengths of those creatures. So you get their attacks, you get their speed, you get their flying abilities if they have one, their swimming, their burrowing, their sight, whatever. And you get their hit points. In a sense, when you are transformed with Polymorph, you taking damage turns you into the ultimate tank, because now you're just that health bar that is the beast's health gets whittled down, and when it goes to 0, you just transform back into your original form with all the hit points you had before. So it's a second health bar, and that's great. And it doesn't have to be cast on the tank. Why would you transform the barbarian when you could transform yourself? Or transform, the wizard or the warlock or someone else who's not a particularly tanky creature. And if you see the fighter at the front and they've only got a couple hit points left and they're about to die, transform them. Now they have a butt-ton of more hit points and they're way stronger. So it's a win-win-win. It's one of the best spells for utility, for defense, for attack, and just for survivability. Polymorph cannot be beat. It is, without a doubt, one of the best spells in all of D&D, and an easy pick for number 1 for the Sorcerer's 4th level spells. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below, and keep your eyes peeled for more spellcasting reviews coming down the line soon. Have a good one, my friends.